Jagaban is not Jonathan. You can see Jagaban has in a way removed Gadoje from office, APC national chairman, and give him another position. He will go ahead and remove INEC chairman Mahmoud Yakubu. Jagaban will still go ahead and remove national security advisor Nuhu Robado. All people will be removed. Let him be aware also that Jagaban is going to replace him with Yakubu Dogara by 2027. And that is why we are calling him Jagaban. Let him be aware that Jagaban is not Jonathan. Yakubu Dogara will replace him and run for 2027. And nothing will happen. Because Fulani has reduced Hausa to nothing. By the time Yakubu...
Hello and what's up guys? In this video, Yoruba man has just exposed a silent war happening right inside Nigeria's power circle, and what he said will leave you speechless. He claims the Fulani have completely sidelined the Hausa, reducing them to nothing politically. And now Tinubu is secretly planning to correct that by replacing Vice President Shettima with Yakubu Dogara, a Hausa Christian, by 2027. But that's just the beginning. He boldly warns Shettima, Jagaban is not Jonathan. He says while Jonathan couldn't remove a sitting governor, Tinubu has already kicked out Ganduje as APC chairman and will soon remove INEC boss Mahmoud Yakubu and even NSA Nuhu Ribadu. According to him, a storm is coming and Shettima might be next. He also lashes out at Peter Obi, accusing him of turning into a waiter by joining ADC, a party he shockingly called a Fulani terrorist group, claiming Obi has been reduced to nothing. Guys, I will let you watch this video for yourself so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already done so. Take a look, guys, and remember to share your thoughts after watching.
But where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. In the last 4 years of the Jonathan administration, I was the most demonized person. I was the public enemy number one. And there are two gentlemen seated here. Certain decisions are taken in a very rare peace cycle. The president, the vice president, the Senate president, and the Speaker of the House of Representatives. At one of such conclaves, former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan GCFR, with whom we have shared the sword and have now recalibrated our relationship, was mooting the idea of removing this Borno governor, and Aminu Waziri Tambuwal, the then Speaker of the House of Representatives, had the courage to tell the President that, Your Excellency, you don't have the power to remove an elected councillor. The President was still not convinced. He mooted the idea at the Federal Executive Council. I admire Mr. Mohammed Bello Adoke fundamentally for his courage and for his convictions and for his capacity to stand for what he believes in. He told the then President that, Mr. President, you do not have the power to remove a sitting governor, not even a councillor.
All right. It's as if our vice president, Senator Kashim Shettima, did not really understand the English that we have been speaking, that Jagaban is not Jonathan. If he did not understand, let those who are closer to him explain to him that Jagaban is not Jonathan. Because recently he has come out to tell us that former Vice President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan attempted to remove him from office where he was a city governor in Borno State, and that Jonathan lacked power to remove councillor, talk more of a city governor. But today, Jagaban has removed a city governor. And that is why we are telling him that Jagaban is not Jonathan. You can see Jagaban has in a way removed Gadoje from office, APC national chairman, and give him another position. he will go ahead and remove INEC chairman Mahmoud Yakubu. Jagaban will still go ahead and remove National Security Advisor Nuhu Robado. All people will be removed. Let him be aware also that Jagaban is going to replace him with Yakubu Dogara by 2027. And that is why we are calling him Jagaban. Let him be aware that Jagaban is not Jonathan. Yakubu Dogara will replace him and run for 2027. And nothing will happen. Because Fulani has reduced Hausa to nothing. By the time Yakubu Dogara come there as vice president, that will be the first time we are having an Hausa man as the highest position in northern Nigeria. So Nigeria can no longer afford to run a Muslim ticket. Yakubu Dogara is coming. And that is why we are telling P2B to withdraw from that ADC. The ADC party is a Fulani terrorist party. Let P2B withdraw. You can see now the way they have reduced P2B to nothing. P2B has turned to be a waiter. Started sharing food in an occasion, pretending to humble himself. He didn't know that he has reduced himself to nothing. Let him withdraw from that party and go back to his Labour Party. Then let him support Jagaban to win 2027 election. By 2031, Jagaban is going to hand over power to P2B because Igbos have not had their presidents. We will have Hausa, Yoruba, and Igbo. Now that Dogara has come there representing Hausa, Yoruba have not had their vice president. By 2031, when P2B come as president, he's going to pick a Yoruba man as vice president. Yes, that is the way Nigeria will run. By that time, we know very well that Fulani will not agree. And that is why they have been recruiting repeater Boko Haram to fight for them. They know that this table will turn one day. And the person that will turn the table is already here. And it's going to run it that way. If they disagree with us, then we'll bring Nigeria to an end. That is the information. Let Kashim know now that it is no longer a joke.
Dr. Abati was there when Mr. Shettima, Vice President Kashim Shettima, made that very bold statement that President Goodluck Jonathan at some point muted the idea to remove or to suspend him as governor of Borno in the thick of all of this crisis. Anyway, I will condemn Goodluck Jonathan for even attempting that because that was an overreach. You should never think of a president doing that. But I will also applaud Goodluck Jonathan that at least he surrounded himself with people that don't have Ayitophelic counsel. Not like some leaders that surround themselves with Ayitophelic counsel. And I want to pay tribute to Mr. Doke. Stellar man. Congratulations on your book review. I'm sorry I couldn't be there because of many endeavors. But for you to give President Jonathan that counsel and for him to listen, it shows leadership. Because the same Mr. Shettima that is speaking, in this same his government, an aberration was committed. There was nobody that could give President Tinubu the counsel that you do not go ahead and suspend an elected governor. Only to think that the frivolousness for suspending Governor Fubara was shocking. Now we now use state of emergency to settle political scores in states. We now put the veneer of the state was under security threats. So the question is, my Egbon, where were you to stand tall? And I'm talking about the Attorney General, which is my very dear Egbon. Where were you to stand tall to President Tinubu to tell him they don't do what he has done? Because from the Jamatis personnel, we've seen how all of them are falling out. We've even seen how some people brag that we wanted to impeach him. Is the president has saved him. So by the inference of that statement, what it just means is that it was not because of any security concerns. Because Wike himself said it. I want to impeach him. President Tinubu saved him with state of emergency. So state of emergency is now what they use to settle political scores and save people from being impeached. What an aberration in our nation.
Okay, I was there in 2014, including all the meetings relating to the subject that was raised. I was also there yesterday. Let me put this in context by saying that one, the circumstances are totally different. In 2014, what we were dealing with ahead of the 2015 general elections was insecurity, widespread insecurity in the Northeast. And Senator Kashim Shettima was governor of Borno State at that time. And then there was this incident of the 276 Chibok girls who were abducted. That became an international issue. And, people giving it all kinds of phraseology. Christian students have been abducted. Borno State was no longer safe for Christians. It was in that context that the government was trying to find solutions. President Jonathan did not on his own take a decision. President Jonathan has this habit of always consulting his legal advisor, the chief law officer of the Federation. At that time, it was Mohammed Bello Adoke. And in the book that Mohammed Bello Adoke SCN has just published, at page 69, he singled out for President Jonathan for praise as a super respecter of the law. And we used to joke in those days, every little thing, my attorney general, what does the law say? And Adoke will say, well, I'm a constitutional purist. I will only tell you what the Constitution says. We also had in cabinet then, the Kabiru Turaki SAN, that Vice President Shettima referred to, who, as he quoted, said, he supported his senior colleague and brother SAN. And then, of course, Honorable Aminu Tambuwa was Speaker of the House of Reps at the time. He was also a lawyer. So it was not as if any decision had been taken. At the end of the day, the emergency that was declared in Borno State was just in a number of local governments where, Boko Haram said they had hoisted their flag and they were going to run a government. But nobody removed the governor of Borno State at that time. You may say, well, President Jonathan, as Adoke has pointed out on page 69 of his book, is a super respecter of the law. Now, two, yesterday, Vice President Shettima did not use the word suspension. He used the word removal. There's a difference between suspension and removal. And truly, the advice that he was quoting, on the basis of which President Jonathan acted, there's nowhere in the Nigerian Constitution that the president of a country is given the powers to remove. The emphasis is remove. There's a difference between remove and suspend. And so that was the point basically that he was making, which was, I found it very mischievous and, unfortunate that some commentators on that statement by the vice president have been saying, this shows that he's criticizing his boss. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. No, he did not criticize President Tinubu. In fact, the environment was so jovial and friendly, and this was in the context of he saying, in this hall, we have PDP, we have new PDP, we have the coalition, we have, the leaders of the coalition and all of that. And everybody burst out into laughter. And then he made this point, just to acknowledge the commitment of the Attorney General of the Federation at that time, Mohammed Bello Adoke, to a purist and correct interpretation of the Constitution. The third point will have to do with what the law says. Section 305 of the Constitution is what talks about declaration of a state of emergency. The declaration of a state of emergency can come from the state level. State level, the state say, we have a crisis in our state, and then we need a state of emergency. Section 305 sub 4. Now, the National Assembly also has a role to play. The president also has a role to play. He approaches the National Assembly for a gazetted proclamation, and all of that process is worked out. Why President Tinubu was criticized in the River State case was because, the democratic structures were suspended, whereas there is no such thing under that Section 305, because the Section 305 talks about when there is war. What they have in River State is a political crisis. So the circumstances are different. And that's why I always talk that, look, when you look at these subjects, just put them in context. People should not talk out of emotion. If you pay attention to the context, you may be able to look at the details much better. However, what President Tinubu has done is to suspend, and that's why he's under pressure to reinstate and end the state of emergency. The Section 305, stipulating in a part of it that the suspension can only be for 6 months in the first instance. So the VP was talking about removal. That was the word I used. I said I didn't hear him very well yesterday.